I cannot put ourselves in the position of being driven by public. We must be driven by the facts, the evidence, and the law always. I believe that this has sparked a reason for us to have a conversation about where we really stand on criminal justice reform. What we really believe when we talk about the rhetoric of a broken system and fixing it. It means that you have to have fidelity to that. And the efforts that I've had on criminal justice reform that were once celebrated by many in this county that are now being attacked because of one case and one celebrity, I think we have to ask ourselves, what is this really about? That's right. I've been asking myself for the last 2 weeks, what is this really about? And as someone who has lived in this city, who came up from the projects of this city to serve as the first African-American woman in this role, it is disheartening to me and to the women and men for whom I represent that there is not a place I go that I don't represent for Cabrini. That's right. That when we get in these positions, that somehow goalposts change.
That's right. We know that.
Somehow when you do the best, and that you put our office on national standards, there are people watching what we're doing in Cook County around criminal justice reform, and yet. So I will tell you that this is personal.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about what you just saw, which was Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx acting totally bewildered, stupefied, surprised at the reaction to her basically allowing Jussie Smollett to get off the hook. Now, before I even get into it, let's recap. This man was facing 16 felony counts for filing a false police report, giving false statements. Those charges, the severity of the charges, the amount of them basically reflect what he was trying to do. He was trying to indirectly invoke a race riot in Chicago, okay? Talking about, oh, these two big white guys with MAGA hats on tried to lynch me. They beat me up. They were shouting homophobic slurs, all this, that, and the third. None of that happened. It was totally a hoax. It was totally fake. And the Chicago police and others wanted to see him face real justice and not get a slap on the wrist, because if what he did actually played out, you would have the whole world stand up and take notice of the tragedy that was happening in Chicago, which would be a race riot. Now, the whole world did take notice, but for a different reason. Now Chicago and that whole establishment, law enforcement or whatever, are seen as, incompetent, corrupt, and just inept, which they happen to be. It's pretty clear here. But Kim Foxx is saying, wait a minute, what's really going on? Is it because people just wanted to see justice, or is it something else? Is it because I'm black? Now, she didn't say that specifically, is it because I'm black? But she did mention being black from the Cabrini Green project, a notorious project in the 70s, 80s in Chicago with gangbanging and whatnot. But that's a different story, and for now I digress. But she's talking about all these other things that aren't really the reason why people are upset with her. Let's talk about the race thing first. I think that she thinks the attacks on her are because of race, or it could be race fueled. Let's not forget, a lot of people who are upset with Jussie Smollett and are upset with her for letting him off the hook happen to be black and happen to be totally anti-Trump. They're mad at him because they thought that it was real. They were ready to support him and whatever he had going on. They're ready to go up there, engage in protests, engage in riots, have the fist up, wearing T-shirts, talking about on social media, television, or whatever. They're ready for that. But then when it wound up being fake, they're upset with him. They feel like he was playing on their emotions. They feel like he was taking advantage of them. And it was all for personal gain to try and get some more money on his TV show Empire, which a lot of black folks watch, by the way. So a lot of black folks are really upset with Jussie and her for letting him off the hook. So when you say, race, or you try to bring race up here, you don't make any sense, because a lot of the frustration comes from black folks themselves. Most people that know who he is are black. So let's not do that. And beyond that, she wanted to say, well, I came in, I wanted to have, more focus on the violent crime and less on the nonviolent crime. So why is it really an issue? This is a nonviolent crime. Nobody got hurt. But you don't understand what this could have done to the city if it were true, or if it were allowed to persist without being proven false, which it did eventually get proven false. You had the city of Chicago waiting for a riot, waiting for some violence. That was going to be the result. If it were not for the polar vortex, there may have been violence that night, right away, as soon as it was found out that this happened. Okay? Because remember, there was going to be a Trump rally in Chicago, and almost instantly, as soon as it was known that it was going to be right there, like you had almost a whole city out there protesting against it, and it got pretty testy just for a Trump rally. So imagine if people were out there for Jussie Smollett, and it was a real hate crime with white guys, MAGA hats, lynching rope, bleach. Imagine what would be the result of that. And when you find that out, when you find the plot that it was fake out, and you let them off with a slap on the wrist, that sends a terrible message, not only to Chicago, not only to the United States, but to the whole world. This has become an international spectacle. They're looking at Chicago, maybe even the whole U.S., as being corrupt, inept, and just totally foolish, which portions of our country are, especially in places like Chicago, where you got people like Foxx in there trying to talk about, I ran on, not prosecuting nonviolent offenders and trying to focus more on the murders, that, and the third. You don't understand how important this case was. It's just like if you have a state senator that gets assaulted or killed or something like that versus a regular person. Like, let's say it's just a regular dope boy that gets killed on the street. Anybody going to care about the regular dope boy for the most part. That's not really going to be of high priority. Now, his friends and family may care, or they may pretend to care about his death, because I've seen people get killed at funerals of dope boys, beat up at funerals of dope boys. So they don't really care that much, in my humble opinion, but that's a different story. And for now, I digress. But you get my drift. The importance level of a dope boy that gets killed in the street is not really that high. It would not register outside of that general area. But if you have a state senator, a congressman, any kind of person like that that has a high level of importance or a high public office, and they get hit, you're talking about everybody in the whole world is going to see that. The whole world will notice that. You're going to have heads of state call in, offer condolences. People like Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, Benjamin Netanyahu. I mean, it's going to be something that the whole world sees. It's going to be news for months, if not weeks, years. Like, remember when you had somebody trying to send bombs to people that were in the government? They called on the MAGA bomber. It's on Wikipedia. It was stories being done about it all the time. Even in Charlottesville, where one person who was white, by the way, got killed by another white person. Charlottesville is now being labeled as a white supremacist haven. Anybody that supports Confederate statues is a white supremacist, and they want to see people die, and they're a Nazi. Even though that's not true, and it's been, a year or two now since that happened, people are still pushing that narrative. So these incidents are very important. They got to be treated like that. It's not a regular incident. So this whole thing about, I was trying to run on a nonviolent offender ease program, whatever she wants to say, does not apply here because it's such a high profile case. So when she asks, is it because he's a celebrity? Yes, it is. Because if he were not a celebrity, it would not really be a big case. Furthermore, she wants to talk about white nationalists coming to Chicago and her being scared. It's your fault they came. See, when you don't do the right thing in the place, when you don't prosecute these crimes appropriately, they get a lot of attention, that are high profile, you're going to invite the wrong kind of people to your place. That's why you have to attack these things head on. It's a variety of reasons. First of all, you don't want to have any kind of copycats to come out there and try to do it. They may see what he did. They may see where he was wrong and where he had flaws, where he messed up as far as being able to cover his own tracks. They may try to duplicate what he did and correct the mistakes. So then they can be the object of attention. They can be a martyr. They can be what he was trying to be but failed. You don't want that. And second, you don't want to have people that come from the outside, your Antifa, Black Lives Matter, KKK, white nationalists, or whatever, you don't want them to come to your place to be engaging in fight clubs and just trying to push whatever they want to push. Now you got a whole big powder keg on your hands that's ready to explode. And if you are in public safety, your first concern must be the safety of the Chicago citizens, Chicagoland, Illinois, or whatever the case may be. That must be your primary concern, not about trying to fulfill campaign promises and racism and all that kind of stuff like that. It's not even about that. So that's pretty much all I got for that. What say you? Do you think the punishment for Smollett was appropriate? The 10 grand that he had to give back, or that he gave initially to get out of jail, and then I think it was 2 days of community service with Jussie Jackson. And by the way, have you heard this man speak recently? Mr. Jussie, that is. I mean, you're talking about 1 foot in the grave. My goodness. Retire, go somewhere, sit down.
The last.
You don't need to be at press conferences. And by the way, as I conclude, there's a lot of impropriety going on with Kim Foxx. We already know about the whole thing with Tina Chen, and that was Michelle Obama's friend, former chief of staff on the East Wing of the White House. We all know how she was talking to Kim Foxx, trying to get Jussie Smollett a sweet deal, having the thing be transferred from the local government to the FBI. We know about that. But also, Jussie Smollett did his community service with Jussie Jackson. Jussie Jackson was right there beside Kim Foxx. So, I mean, it's not about race. It's not about you're a woman. It's not about anything else. It's about you not doing your job appropriately. In the case like this, high profile, high visibility, you must do your job. You got to punish that man. You can't let him off the hook at all. So whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.